Hello everyone and welcome to Metro Matters. Anyone who's been stuck in Houston traffic knows that the gridlock out in the streets is getting worse. There are more cars on the road, and by 2040 this region's population is expected to double. So what does this mean for public transportation? With us today is a very special guest, Metro Chair Carrin Patman, who's leading the METRONext plan, a regional transit plan to prepare us for the future. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you, Mary. It's just a delight to be with you.
Tell me, what exactly is the METRONext plan?
Well, we are planning for the future. As you said, the population will be doubling, and we are going to develop a plan with all modes of transportation, bus service, which will remain the linchpin of our system, the backbone, rail, high occupancy vehicle lanes, bus rapid transit, commuter rail possibly, to bring us into the future and keep opportunity from being choked off by impassability and inability to make connections to where everyone needs to go.
Now, Metro doesn't have a plan yet. It's developing a plan. Is that right?
Well, we start with the 2003 plan. In 2003, Metro developed a plan with community input, and the voters blessed it in a referendum, and they also blessed a certain amount of bonding authority to get started on the plan, not to complete it by any stretch. And so what we're doing now is taking a look at that plan, seeing what in that plan still makes sense, which I believe will end up being many of the things, but certainly the corridors that were talked about in those plans, the A to B destinations talked about in those plans need to reflect current population, where the population will be changing. And then we also need to make sure that in the modes we use on those plans, meaning the types of transit, buses, bus rapid transit, rail lines, etc., that we're keeping up with existing technology.
You're also going out throughout the city holding sort of like a listening tour and
We
community
are.
meetings.
We are. We're having a listening tour. We're having a total of 25 meetings. We're almost halfway through, all over our service area, and we have information. Folks come and tell us their views.
Chair Patman, what are they saying? Is there a common thread?
There are a few common threads. One is transit to the airport.
Okay, everybody wants like
A lot
rapid
of
transit
people,
to the airport.
A lot of
okay.
people do, and of course Hobby has now turned into an international terminal, so there's even more interest in that maybe than there was in 2003, and that was part of the 2003 plan. There's interest in commuter rail down to Missouri City. There's interest in improving the amenities of transit at the transit centers and the buses. And we're just getting a lot of good ideas.
Okay, so these ideas sound great. Who wouldn't want to hop on a train and get to the airport without worrying about traffic?
Exactly.
But how are we going to pay for all this?
Well, that's always a big challenge, and that's something we're probably going to be asking the voters for more bonding authority so that we can issue debt to be paid off over time, and we will probably be approaching the federal government for some grants. There's a little bit of flux in the federal government now, as you know, because we've had a change in administration, so we're waiting to see what might be available. But that will certainly be something we'll look at again, and we'll really just be looking at any and all sources of funding, including partnering with other agencies.
I was just going to ask you about that. Is Metro partnering now with other agencies, and which ones?
Well, for one, we're partnering with the Houston-Galveston Area Council, which has established its own high-capacity transit task force, of which I am a co-chair in my role as Metro Chair. And they too, as you may know, the Houston-Galveston Area Council develops a plan for the 8-county region every so often. So we're working with them and they're working with us. Our hope is that Metro's plan will ultimately be folded into the Houston-Galveston Area Council plan. We're also working—
And we can sort of share resources to get that done?
Oh, we're very much sharing resources to get everybody's ideas and because of course they have a lot of expertise and a lot of folks on staff that have a lot of good ideas and can do the research necessary. We're partnering with the Texas Department of Transportation to make sure that any highway enhancements made could handle rapid transit, either rail or Platooning buses is a new technology.
Now, what is a platooning bus?
A platooning bus is a series of buses that are autonomous. You might or might not have a driver in the first bus. This is a technology that has not yet been fully developed yet, but it is a concept, so that they run almost as a rail line down a high occupancy vehicle lane. And the idea is they would have special amenities, so it might be a form of what they call rail on rubber.
Well, these sound like really exciting plans, and people can go on METRONext.org to find out about this METRONext plan.
Yes,
right?
and we encourage everyone to do that, because we want to provide a plan that will serve the interests of our riders and our community. So the only way we can be sure we do this is if everyone participates. So please, we ask our riders and people who don't ride transit but who would benefit from efficient transit to go on www.ridemetro.org and get their ideas in play.
Okay, let's take a little break now, but we'll be right back. And when we return, Chair Carrin Patman will tell us more about her vision for Metro's future and how she became the agency's first woman chair in history. Stay with us.
Some people are always in a rush. Gotta run to the store. Forgot to walk the dog. Oops, another unexpected emergency. But sometimes we just need to put our foot down and stop. Be aware of your surroundings. A safety message from your friends at Metro.
My name is Martina, and I ride Metro's 244 Monroe parking ride. I've been taking the parking ride for 10 years.
Good morning, Marty.
And it really has its benefits. Everybody has his or her thing. There's the
I
gamers,
just got a legendary.
the mobile office devotees,
Sell.
and the nappers. But me, I can sit back, relax, and save time and money with Metro. My name is Martina, and this is my Metro. Plan your trip at ridemetro.org.
We've been talking with the chair of Metro's Board of Directors, Carrin Patman. A former trial attorney with the law firm Bracewell, Carrin Patman became Metro's first woman chair of the Board of Directors. And now she's heading up an ambitious plan for our region's future transportation. It's called METRONext. So how did you convince Mayor Turner to make you the first woman chair of our agency here?
Well, I've been a great admirer of Mayor Turner's for many years. I come from a political family. I had several elected officials in my family, and having watched his ability to collaborate and get things done in the legislature, I was a great admirer of his. And so when he decided to run for mayor, I was all in. I thought he would do a wonderful job leading the city, and I feel validated in that, by the way. But I knew that one of his major initiatives was going to have to do with transit and transportation in Metro. So I'd been on the board before. Mayor Parker had appointed me for 4 years. I'm very grateful to her for that. Another good mayor. And I had gone off the board for a couple of years, came back, was working in his campaign, and after it was over, I think everyone was so exhausted. And he had mentioned to me the possibility of serving the city, and then we were shooting ideas back and forth, and I'd served on the board of Metro before, so that came up. And he said, would you be interested in doing that? And initially, knowing that it really is a full-time job and requires somebody to be completely all in, I was exhausted. I've been driving voters to the polls, and so I was just too tired to even think about it. And I said, oh gosh, I don't know. And then once I got 3 days of sleep, I thought, you know what? I've been on the board before. Like most women, I always feel like I have to be fully qualified, almost overqualified,
yes,
before I take on a new challenge. There had never been a woman chair, and I'm always wanting women to step up when these opportunities are presented. And I realized I really could do a good job, I thought, because I'd been on the board before and I had certain skill sets. I had a great relationship with the mayor and with a number of the county officials, as well as the other board members, many of whom I'd served with before. So I called him back and I said, you know what, not only will I do it, I would like to do it. The best man for a job is a woman in this case. And he laughed, and he loved the idea of breaking that barrier. And so he thought about it. There were competitors for the position, and in the end, for whatever reason, he selected me. And it's just been an honor and a joy to work for him and work for the officials and county governor.
Okay, so you have been chair for about a year and a half, something
right,
like that.
almost a little more than a year.
You were appointed in April 2016, right?
Yes,
Something like that.
yes.
So what has it been like so far for you?
It's nonstop action. As you know, being at Metro, there's a new challenge every day. It's very inspiring to get to visit with folks out in the community, which is what I get to do a whole lot of, be out in the community. It tests my intellect, my diplomacy skills to the extent I have any. It's just, there's no skill set that it doesn't test, and some of which I came to the job with and others I've developed while I've been on the job. So it's just been a thorough challenge, and I think it's a very, very important mission because folks do not have opportunity for education, for jobs, for medical care, for recreation without transit. There's a large population that's dependent fully on transit.
You know, Houston is a car city. We love our cars.
That's what I'm told.
And so the whole state of Texas loves cars, right? So how much of a challenge is this to you? Do you just ever feel like, oh, can we convince the public to really ride Metro and ride transit and give up our cars for 1 or 2 days even?
Well, I do think particularly the millennials are not used to having to own a car, and they like riding around on the car services or transit. And so I think you're seeing a generational shift there. And second, as the population explodes, as you alluded to earlier, it's going to become so much more difficult to use your cars that I think that people will gravitate to transit. But bear in mind that even folks that ride their cars benefit from an effective transit system.
Less cars on the road.
Well, less cars on the road, and also their workers getting to where people that drive also, let's say that they're an executive, they need their staffs to be able to arrive, and many folks do take transit. And so it's a combination. It's everybody working together.
What is your philosophy in leading Metro? And does being a woman affect that at all?
Well, I think that my overall philosophy is just for us to provide the best possible service to the most possible people in the most convenient, secure, and innovative ways. And my philosophy, I don't know that there's a gender component to that philosophy, but that's certainly the way I look at it.
What's your biggest challenge?
Gosh, where do I start? Is it cheating to have more than one?
You can have
I would have to
top
say,
three.
well, I would have to say that the biggest challenge right now is the regional transit plan, getting that together. That's a pretty monumental undertaking, working with all the stakeholders that need to be included. And then, of course, we have a couple of really important initiatives. One is on safety on our system. We're continuing to do everything we can to keep making it safer and safer.
We're putting red and blue stripes now on our trains, right?
Well, we are. There's that component of it where we don't want to have accidents involving the trains, and we're doing a lot of things to make trains more quickly noticed as they approach a station. We want to enhance safety all over the system by more fare inspectors that can report incidents that need to be reported to Metro Police, by increasing our Metro Police force. There's just many, many dimensions of our safety initiative, not to mention the disability initiative as well. We're very focused on accessibility.
Sheriff Patman, you have a plate full, and thank you so much for coming and sharing your vision with us.
Thank you so very much.
That's all for this edition of Metro Matters. Be sure to join the conversation on our blog at ridemetro.org, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter. I'm Mary Sitt. Thanks for watching.